Welcome back everyone, it is Eric from Rare Candy, and today I'm back bringing you guys some more tabletop gameplay, showing off some new Paradox Rift decks. So in this video we have the new Gholdengo EX facing off against the new Terra-type Mewtwo EX. So I actually did full deck profiles for both these decks already on the channel, so if you do want to see what the list that we're using today look like, I will have those linked down below in the description. But I'm going to be over on the left playing the new Gholdengo EX, and we have a buddy of mine, Vince Owen. He's going to be playing the new Mewtwo EX with Xatu over there on the right. And both the core strategies of these decks are kind of similar in a way. They're both based around taking big one-hit KOs with energy, but kind of inverse of each other in the same way. Like the Gholdengo EX deck is all about discarding energy to do lots of damage. And with Vince's deck, it's all about keeping energy in play to do lots of damage. So we'll have to see which of these strategies will ultimately come out on top here. And it looks like I am finally getting a basic there. I do see it in my opening hand there after that mulligan. So we will be able to get this game going. And it looks like Mewtwo is going to be what Vince is starting with, and he is going to get to go first as well. But we're going to see a Fog Crystal to kick things off. So of course that will allow him to get a basic Psychic Pokemon or a basic Psychic Energy from his deck and put it into his hand. And it looks like he is eyeing himself down a Xatu, which definitely makes sense. That's both his draw engine and energy acceleration engine as well. So he definitely needs to get these different Xatus in play ASAP. That way he can start evolving into Xatu and get his whole engine up and running. Now, does he have an energy attachment for turn? That's the other big thing I think Vince really wants to find here. That way he can threaten a turn 2 knockout on this Gimmighoul. Okay, and he does have the Psychic Energy. And from there, just a pass. So on my turn, I'm going to get to open with a Battle VIP pass. So definitely my preferred Pokemon search card to find on turn 1, since of course that is the only time you can play it. This will allow me to get 2 basic Pokemon and put them on my bench. So I am going to get myself a Bidoof. And it looks like I'm eyeing down a second Bidoof, which does make sense. Burrell is a very important part of this deck. Okay, we see another Gimmighoul. And yeah, I can actually fill up my entire bench this turn. This is actually sort of a cracked turn 1 hand with the Gholdengo deck, I'm not going to lie. Okay, looks like I'm debating what I want to grab with all these cards, but I have a Nest Ball and a Fog Crystal of my own. So it looks like Fog Crystal is going to get me a Psychic Energy, and Nest Ball is going to get me a Gimmighoul. But from there, I can actually use Irida as my turn 1 supporter to grab Radiant Greninja to finally fill out my bench and also get an item card maybe for next turn. And yeah, there's going to be an Ultra Ball there. That definitely makes sense. My hand is really good for this turn, but next turn I don't have a lot going on, and I might need that Ultra Ball to get myself a Burrell or a Gholdengo to be able to start drawing some cards. But I do still have the option to use concealed cards on Radiant Greninja to see a few more cards this turn too. Okay. Nothing else too groundbreaking for this turn, but yeah, this is a pretty stacked hand for turn 1. And we'll have to see how Vince is going to respond here, but looks like just a pass from there. And oh, looks like we're talking about something here. Oh, I think I was debating if I wanted to use the escape rope in my hand, but just gonna opt to pass, it looks like. But going over to Vince's turn, let's see what he's gonna do here. He does have an Ultra Ball, so he is gonna toss away Iono plus Switch. So that tells me he is going to be playing that Professor's Research that he has in hand, since that will allow him to draw 1 extra card compared to the Iono. But we are going to see a second Xatu come down. We have the first Xatu, an Energy Attachment, a Path to the Peak, and a clean Research for 7 cards. And he does find energy, so he will be able to start accelerating some bonus energies each turn now with these Xatus, because Xatu, its ability allows you to attach a Psychic Energy from hand to one of your bench Pokemon, and then you draw 2 cards. And we are going to see a Capturing Aroma that will grab him a Xatu for the next turn. And we have a Nest Ball setting up another Mewtwo EX, so yeah, Vince is having a pretty good turn too here, I have to say. The Path to the Peak is definitely a pretty important card as well. Honestly, it's one of the biggest things that can really bring this Gholdengo EX deck down to a screeching halt. So if Vince is able to really keep these Path to the Peaks in play, I think he's going to be on a good track to win these games that we have here today. Because the Gholdengo EX is very reliant on these different rule box abilities on itself, as well as on the Radiant Greninja. So getting these Burrells that my deck is playing up and running is definitely going to be something I have to start thinking about in the next turn or two. And here, I don't know what we were talking about. It looks like Vince started to play a Fog Crystal and decided he didn't want to. And guys, just a reminder, these are pretty casual games. We really don't mind each other taking back little minor plays like that if they're easily reversible. But it looks like he's just going to take the KO on the active Gimme Ghoul, which seems pretty good. So going over to my turn, I do have some options here. I could Ultra Ball while I'm able to play my hand down to a low hand size to use the Barrel. But then I might run the risk of not having a Gholdengo. So I think it might actually just be better to Worker here and then save the Ultra Ball to find, my Gholdengo if I still haven't got one yet. Okay, but there's going to be the Worker, so that will allow me to draw 3 cards and maybe even more importantly, get rid of this Path to the Peak. Okay, we're going to see concealed cards, seeing an extra 2 cards with Radiant Greninja there. Just looking at this hand, I think we can actually get the KO on this Mewtwo EX, even with that Bravery Charm there, giving it 50 extra HP. Just trying to figure out what to pitch away with this Ultra Ball. Okay, but there's going to be the Ultra Ball, so yeah, going to go for that Gholdengo EX, and I'm actually not done drawing cards. Gholdengo has a pretty good ability here that allows you to draw a card, or draw 2 cards if it's your active Pokemon. So there's going to be Letter of Encouragement. This is also another really cool card in the Gholdengo deck. You can only use it after your opponent took a KO, but then you search your deck for 3 basic energies and put them into your hand. And they're just going to mark that I did in fact use Radiant Greninja. So this will thin some energies out of deck and maybe help me find some of my other Pokemon. And I do find an Ultra Ball, so I could potentially use that to get another Gholdengo or maybe a Barrel in case of an Iono on Vince's next turn. So there's going to be Energy Attachment for turn. I do need that for Gholdengo's attack. And I do remember this turn I was a little bit conflicted with ultimately what I decided to do, because it is possible, I think, for me to get a Barrel online plus get this KO, but it does require me to burn a lot of energy to do so. And I think the thought process here is, well, I can do that and guarantee this Barrel in case of an Iono from Vince, because Iono Path is really the big combo I'm really afraid of with his deck. But the other side of me is like, well, my hand is dead right now no matter what. Like, I don't have anything in it really other than energies. So if I be a little bit more conservative with my energy this turn and not go through so much of it to make this play happen, if I get Iono'd, that actually just puts me closer to a supporter or another Pokemon that can draw me cards. And it looks like that is what I'm going to do here, because if Vince does Iono me, cool, I'm closer to being able to find a way to draw cards. And if he doesn't Iono me, I still have Ultra Ball for next turn. And I did manage to be able to knock out that Mewtwo. Gholdengo's attack does 50 for each basic energy in your hand that you choose to discard, so 6 energy, knock that guy out of play. But going over to Vince's turn here, we'll have to see how he is going to respond. I don't think he's going to be able to get a KO on this Gholdengo, but if he can go Iono Path, there is a chance for him to, really, bring my deck down to a screeching halt so that he can maybe set up a little bit better over these next couple turns. So there's going to be a boss's orders. He knows Barrel is so important for this deck. And here I think we were talking, if he saves the boss, like, he's going to accelerate energy and draw some more cards with Xatu first. There is a world where he could go Iono Path Counter Catcher, because this deck does have a Counter Catcher. So it might be worth holding off on using the boss for the moment. Okay, we're going to see a Fog Crystal, thinning an extra card out of deck. And if Vince doesn't have all of the cards needed to make that play happen, he can still just choose the boss after he's finished drawing all these cards. But this gives him the most amount of options here. But here we're going to see him accelerate another energy with Xatu and draw a few cards. So we'll have to see what route Vince is going to go. No doubt that Path to the Peak is going to hit the board this turn. Okay, there's going to be the Bravery Charm, the Psychic Energy, the Path, and ultimately he is going to change his mind and go for the Iono here. So we'll both be getting new hands. Vince is going to get 5 cards and I'm going to get 4. And he does find the counter catcher, so this actually paid off not going for the boss. So counter catcher will only work if he is behind on prizes, but much like with boss's orders, you switch one of your opponent's bench Pokemon with their active. So he wants to get these Bidoofs out of play as soon as possible because he's sort of, I think, counting on like a late game Iono path to eventually steal him the game. And so far it's worked. This new hand I have is trash. And here it makes me kind of wish I went for the Burrell last turn, but at the same time, Vince played counter catcher, so even if I had gotten Burrell in play, he actually just would have knocked it out. So I don't know if there's too much I could have done to prevent the state of this game. Now, unfortunately, I can't knock out this Mewtwo, but I can play a boss's orders and knock out this Xatu. So this will at least let me draw an extra card, and this will still get me a KO and take away some energy off his board and one of his main ways of drawing cards. So there's just going to be the knockout, and from there, just head back over to Vince's turn. Okay, it looks like Vince is going to use that Xatu to draw a few extra cards here. We see an attachment for turn on Natu. Definitely makes sense. And there's going to be the boss's order. So that all of a sudden has really put me in a scary spot to where I now need my Super Rod if I want to be able to get my draw engine back online here. And you can see how much work this Path to the Peak is putting in against my deck, because all three Pokemon I would have in play let me see a ton of cards in a given turn if this stadium was not in play. So this is a little bit unfortunate. I think I just have to probably pass over here. And now Vince could get into a spot in the game where he can just amass so much energy into play that even if I do finally take a KO, he might then have so much energy in play that his Mewtwo EXs will be able to one-shot anything I have too. So there's going to be a Super Rod. It'd be nice to have one of those for myself, but not quite so lucky, unfortunately. And yeah, Vince has got to be feeling good. He's got his main attacker in play with a bunch of energy. He's got Path to the Peak as well. He's got Bravery Charm. Okay, it looks like he is starting to power up Mew EX as well. And it looks like he's debating an Iono, but honestly, I don't think he should play it here. And it looks like he's not going to either. Like, he knows that my hand is totally dead, so he doesn't want to refresh it, even if it is giving me only 3 cards. So yeah, just go for the 2-shot with the Mewtwo. This definitely seems good. And that top deck definitely feels bad because I would finally be able to set up a barrel, but Vince was, really diligent about targeting down those Bidoofs early. Now there's not a whole lot I can really do. So here it looks like I'm just going to retreat into the Radiant Greninja and then just pass. So Vince is going to accelerate some extra energy. And here we started talking about, oh wait, should I have even retreated? Because there is a possibility Mew could just use Radiant Greninja to start sniping. Because genome hacking can copy the attack of my active Pokemon, but I don't think it matters too much here because it technically can't knock out both Pokemon for the game. So ultimately I decided, I'm just going to leave it as is. It's fine. Regardless of which Pokemon I leave active, I just lose to a boss's orders either way. So I don't think it's going to matter too much. And let's be honest, guys, we can see Vince's board. You can see mine and my hand. He's in a good spot. Yeah, Vince is just going to take the KO on this Radiant Greninja. Or it looks like he's debating on it. He has an escape rope, so I think he's a little bit torn if that's what he wants to do. But this is fine. This puts him basically just needing to knock out my active. But yeah, I top deck absolutely nothing, so Vince had that one. And we're going to go into a game 2. So you guys saw just how crushing Path to the Peak can be against this Gholdengo EX deck. And this list actually does play a number of different counter stadiums. It plays the 3-worker, it plays a Palpad, and 3 Pokestops. So in theory, you have 8 ways to counter Path to the Peak. But unfortunately, it stuck, and I was not able to claw my way back into that game. Going into game 2, I do get to go first. And I am going to use Radiant Greninja there to just draw 2 cards right out the gate. And we are going to see the first Pokestop of the series come down, and that was actually a pretty good one. You discard the top 3 cards of your deck, and then you keep any items that were there. So I got myself a Fog Crystal and a Battle VIP Pass. So right out the gate, just going to get that Bidoof down. We saw how important in game 1 not being able to set up a barrel was, so I always want to make sure I go for one of these guys very early on. And there's going to be a Fog Crystal, so that can get me my second Gimme Ghoul as well. So pretty solid first turn, even without being able to play a supporter here, like Irida, like we saw in game 1. Still getting set up pretty well. And looking at my hand, I think I have a pretty good hand lined up for next turn too. So just going to attach for turn, and probably just pass from there, I would imagine. Okay, so let's see what Vince is going to do here. He does have, I think, a couple of Fog Crystals in his hand. So we are going to see at least one more Xatu come down this turn. Here, looks like he's just taking a peek through his deck, seeing what all he's going to have access to throughout the course of this game. Okay, and he does have a supporter as well, so he will be able to refresh his hand even after finding some more basic Pokemon. So it looks like he's just going to go for a third Xatu. Seems good to me. The Xatu is, such a critical part of this whole deck. He does have an Ultra Ball as well, but he is going to just go for the Iono here and refresh both of us to a 6-card hand. Okay, we're going to see a Capturing Aroma, which is a Heads here, which is good for the next turn, but I'm sure he would have preferred maybe a different Pokemon this turn to maybe start attaching energy to. Looks like maybe he's debating going back in his deck. And then from there, he's just going to shuffle up. I think maybe he was debating playing an Ultra Ball that's in his hand. Now, one thing we have not yet seen is an energy attachment, I don't think. But he does, I'm pretty sure he does have a Psychic Energy in there. And here he's debating if he wants to go for a Path to the Peak. And it seems pretty good. Yeah, it absolutely shuts down my deck, so being able to keep those in play is going to be very important. And we do see a Reversal Energy in Vince's hand. That's a card we didn't really see much of in game 1, but it looks like he is going to opt to save that for the moment. And then just pass. So, yeah, the Path to the Peak is actually super annoying here because I can't really do much with this hand without Radiant Greninja. Now, that being said, I do have a Barrel. So, if I can play down my hand, maybe with this Superior Energy Retrieval, maybe I can draw a few extra cards here. But this will definitely be a pretty painful Superior Energy Retrieval. I think more than likely what I'll have to do is probably maybe get rid of the Psychic Energy and the POW Pad. That seems kind of okay. And just get a single energy out of discard and attach it. Seems pretty bad, but that at least does give me some more energy recovery cards in hand for later. But this is going to be a painful Superior Energy Retrieval no matter what, I think. Which, just as a refresher, you do have to discard 2 cards from your hand, but then you get up to 4 basic energies from your discard back into your hand. And here, I'd imagine I'll probably just get a single energy. Yeah, that way I can at least attach to Gimme Ghoul here. And here I can use Barrel to see a few extra cards, and I do at least find myself some more Pokemon. So there's going to be a Nest Ball. That will at least allow me to reshuffle the order of my deck here, because I did have some pretty important cards at the bottom of my deck before Vince Iono'd us. And then from there, I can just get down a Gimme Ghoul, and it looks like I almost passed, but Gimme Ghoul does have an attack, so I can use that. You flip until you get tails and does 20 for each heads that you get. So it looks like just 20 damage coming down onto the Xatu. I don't know how impactful that is, but hey, it's better than nothing, I suppose. So we are going to see the first Xatu of game 2 come down. And just go for an Iono, which I am definitely grateful for. My hand was not particularly good. So Vince is going to use that ability to see a few extra cards and start powering up that Mewtwo. He just needs a switch and a manual attachment, and he will be able to get off an attack here. But I see the Escape Rope, just no Psychic Energy to go with it. And it looks like Vince Ion'd me into an absolutely stacked hand here. He gave me a Gholdengo, Boss's Orders, a second Ultra Ball to be able to get another Burrell in play. There's going to be Boss's Orders. And I am going to Ultra Ball, getting rid of Battle VIP Pass plus another Ultra Ball. That way I can guarantee myself the Burrell just in case Vince does target down my initial one. I will have a backup one ready to go. And now that Iono Path strategy is not going to be hurting my deck quite as much as it once was. So I just need 2 energy to discard from my hand to get this KO. So just going to knock out that Xatu there. And I'm feeling pretty good because Vince has not really got a whole lot going on here. He was able to find his Natus pretty quickly this game, but he didn't have a particularly explosive second turn. Looks like he is debating an Ultra Ball, getting rid of a Bravery Charm and a Psychic Energy. So yeah, he definitely needs to get another Xatu powered up here. Now, does he have a supporter in hand? That's the next order of business. Okay, he does have an Escape Rope as well. Now, Escape Rope actually I don't think is too bad here because he'll be pretty much able to get a KO on anything I promote. So I think this actually is a pretty good turn to go for that if he does want to. So it looks like he's going to use Energy Retrieval and then use Xatu to power up his Mewtwo with that energy. So there's going to be a Nest Ball. He could go for another Mewtwo EX. Looks like he's eyeing down Deoxys. That's another card we haven't seen too much of, but ultimately he is just going to go for another Mewtwo. It is his deck's heaviest hitter, so makes some sense. And also if he does want to get a Deoxys later, other cards like Fog Crystal will be able to find it, whereas it can't find a Mewtwo later on. But here I'm just going to promote that Radiant Greninja after that Escape Rope. It's turned off by Path to the Peak anyways, and if Vince does knock it out this turn, that means Mew EX won't be able to copy it later to do a sniping attack if he wants to. And pretty good top deck on my part too. I will be able to get rid of that, that Path to the Peak there. So Worker, getting rid of the Path and seeing a few extra cards here. And now I can start to pop off a little bit with my Gholdengo's ability. So this will allow me to draw an extra 2 cards this turn. It looks like I'm checking how much energy is in my discard to see if I'm able to get a KO. And yeah, I should be able to get this KO. There's going to be the Letter of Encouragement. That will allow me to get 3 basic energies out of deck, since my Radiant Greninja did get KO'd on Vince's last turn. And probably just trying to thin as much as possible before I use my Gholdengo's ability, because I really do want to get another one into play this turn just to see some extra cards. And just trying to thin as many cards out of deck preemptively here first. So let's see what I'm going to do here. Okay, there's going to be Energy Retrieval. So it looks like I am gearing up for a big knockout on this Mewtwo. Oh, and it looks like I may have forgotten to use... Yeah, it looks like I caught myself at the last minute here. Yeah, before I take the knockout, I should use Gholdengo's ability. I got so used to not having it with Path to the Peak in game 1 there. I almost forgot that existed. But yeah, I'm going to use that ability to draw 2 extra cards here. And from there, yeah, we just knock out the Mewtwo EX. That seems pretty good. And here I start to use Irida, but I already used Worker this turn. And then I think we caught this shortly afterwards, guys. So sorry about the bit of sloppy play that we have in this game here. In my defense, there's honestly a lot of actions you take to draw cards in a turn with the Gholdengo deck. So sometimes you kind of forget which ones you've already done. But from there, I'm just going to take the KO on Mewtwo, and we'll kick it back over to Vince. So Vince is definitely in a tricky spot here, I have to say. He does have another path, so that's good. And this was kind of an awkward turn he had too, because I'm sure he would have loved to have that reversal energy in play, but he wouldn't have been able to attack with this Mewtwo had he attached that to his bench Xatu instead. So that was kind of an unfortunate research he had there. So there's going to be a Nest Ball getting Mew EX down on the bench. Now, what is interesting is if he ever can get 6 energy in his hand. He technically could take a KO using my Gholdengo's attack thanks to that genome hacking attack on his Mew EX. It's kind of unlikely, but it's definitely possible. But here looks like I'm finally going to be able to play that Hurte that I almost played notoriously on my last turn there. So looks like I was a little bit conflicted what I wanted to grab there initially, but I am going to grab that superior energy retrieval. And as far as the water Pokemon I can get, I guess I don't have any left in deck at this point. Okay, so it looks like I'm going to discard a Manaphy and Battle VIP Pass. That'll get me 4 basic energies from my discard pile back into my hand. And I also do have a Pokestop. This could be a good turn to get it down, just in case of an Iono on the next turn. But also, if I'm not trying to use it this turn, there is merit to just saving it as well. Because if I don't really need anything this turn, if I use Pokestop, I might potentially mill away cards like Worker or additional copies of Pokestop, or even other Gholdengo EXs since they're all still in my deck. Looks like I'm just going to take the knockout on Mewtwo. That one does not have a Bravery Charm, so I only need to discard 5 energies from hand to get the KO there. So going over to Vince's turn, that Mew EX will at least give him a nice free retreater to promote in between KOs. And looks like Vince is starting to power up this Deoxys, which is a pretty good single prize attacker for the deck. But the issue is I only have a single prize left, so he might just be better off trying to attack me with a chunkier Pokemon at this point. If he's able to, of course, because right now he doesn't have another Mewtwo in play just yet. So it looks like he is going to Super Rod. He's going to get himself a Mewtwo and some basic Psychic Energy back into his deck. But he is going to fail the Fog Crystal, okay. I'm assuming that means Vince is probably just going to play a supporter and doesn't want to lose whatever target he has off of Fog Crystal. And yeah, looks like he is going to play an Iono here. Okay, and that actually did find him a Mewtwo, plus a Bravery Charm, that's cool. But I think his big issue here is that he doesn't have a third Xatu. Because he can attach to Mewtwo, but he can't actually get off an attack with it without the help of another one of his stage 1s. And as a result, he's kind of in a weird spot this turn. Okay, I see what me and Vince are discussing here. Since Deoxys wouldn't knock out Gholdengo either way, Vince is just going to use Mewtwo's first attack to get some extra energy in play. And with the Bravery Charm, he gets to end his turn with a Pokemon in the active spot that's a lot more difficult for me to try to knock out on my turn. But I've got a pretty good hand here. I have the Escape Rope. That'll force Vince to promote something with far less HP, making it a little bit easier on myself to maybe get my final KO. So it looks like I am going to attach to... Looks like I was debating attaching to this Gimmighoul. But yeah, I like this better, discarding the energy to get a Gholdengo EX. Because it looked like I was debating retreating the Gimmighoul I promoted, but this is better since I get rid of the energy either way, and I also have another Pokemon that can draw me cards. But yeah, the Burrell is going to refresh my hand again, and I have this one wrapped up, guys. I've got the superior energy retrieval. I've got Pokestop to keep seeing more cards. Yeah, and Vince is just going to scoop up. He's like, you know what? You've got this. Stop your shenanigans. Let's go to a game 3 and see what we can make happen. But going into a game 3, I'm sure Vince is going to want to go first here. And as we've seen in the past 2 games, that actually is kind of determined who won each game. Or well, I don't want to say it determined it, but that definitely seems to be a reoccurring theme so far. It definitely seems like the player going first in this matchup definitely has a pretty big advantage. And no doubt, Vince is going to want that going into this final game here. And it looks like he is going to open with a Deoxys. But Vince is going to kick things off with a Fog Crystal. No doubt going to be trying to find his Natus here. And it looks like that is what he's eyeing down, but I guess he's just searching his deck, taking note of what is prized, what he's going to have access to throughout the course of this game. Now, I did not get a good look at what the rest of Vince's hand looked like, so... Okay, but he does have another Xatu already in hand, so that's good. Looks like he also might have an Ultra Ball hiding in there as well. We'll have to see what he's ultimately going to pick, but he definitely has some options here. I don't think even getting down Psychic Energy seems that bad either, if he doesn't already have one in hand. Yeah, it looks like he is going to grab the Psychic Energy. Makes sense. You really don't want to miss an energy attachment with this deck, since your entire damage output is reliant on how much energy you have in play. Okay, but there's the second Xatu, and he does have a Path to the Peak, but he is opting to save it for next turn, and it's going to pass over to me. Okay, and just looking at my hand, this is not the greatest opening, that is for sure. Whereas the past couple games, I was able to fill my entire bench. This time, I'm just looking at a few Gimme Ghouls with a Gholdengo EX sitting in hand. But I am still trying to play to my outs here. I did use that new Earthen Vessel card where you discard a card from your hand and then search your deck for 2 basic energies. So that will at least thin my deck a little bit and hopefully get me a little bit closer to a supporter or another way to bail myself out of this hand. So if Vince just goes Path Research, whew, I am feeling pretty bad over here. But luckily we know Vince has an Iono, so he is going to eventually bail me out of this hand here. But he does have a Bravery Charm. I actually don't even hate getting that down on the Deoxys, just because it will make it that much harder for me to get a KO this turn, or on my next turn. But here he's just going to Ultra Ball, getting a Xatu. I don't hate that either. Even if I do knock out the Deoxys, it still forces me into a 7-prize game. So yeah, makes sense. Just set up your draw engine, get that thing online ASAP here. And I'm definitely relieved. I hated my last hand, so I will gladly take this. But there's going to be an Ultra Ball, tossing away a Boss's Orders, and a Psychic Energy, grabbing Vince's first Mewtwo EX of the game. No doubt we'll start seeing Xatu power it up here. There's the attachment for turn, a Bravery Charm, and then just going to hard retreat this Deoxys to take the KO. You definitely don't like having to manually retreat like that, but if it means getting a KO and starting to put on a little bit of pressure, I don't think Vince minds that much. But I'm going to use Irida, grabbing myself a Radiant Greninja and an Ultra Ball here. Oh, maybe not Ultra Ball. Okay, going for Fog Crystal instead. That's cool. So it looks like I am going to just play the Fog Crystal, getting a Psychic Energy out of deck. And I'm really just trying to bounce back and stabilize a little bit here. I'd be very surprised if I was able to get a KO this turn, because unfortunately I had to burn both my Letter of Encouragement and my Earthen Vessel just to be able to thin some cards out of my deck last turn. So it's very unlikely I'll be able to make something happen. Ooh, but there is going to be an absolutely devastating Pokestop, getting rid of a Boss's Orders, a Gholdengo EX, and a little less significant is the Metal Energy. So there's going to be an Ultra Ball that will allow me to get a Gholdengo EX here. And what I would like to do is also get down a Bidoof. That is the next order of business. And there is the Bidoof off of the ability on Gholdengo EX. So even though this is a turn where not too much is probably going to happen on my end, this is still, I think, a fine hand to have for the moment going into next turn. And here I'm just debating, do I actually want to get down this Metal Energy, because I might want to save it to use with Radiant Greninja. And yeah, looks like I'm just going to pass there. So the thought was, well, if Vince bosses my Bidoof, I should save that energy in hand to use with Radiant Greninja. And that's exactly what happened, unfortunately. Now, I do have a Pokestop in hand, so I will be able to bump that, see a few extra cards with Gholdengo. And I do have a Boss's Orders as well if I want to. Ooh, and that is not a fun Pokestop. Those things have been burning me this game. I mean, the Battle VIP passes at least make things like Ultra Ball easier for me. But, yeah, definitely not what you'd like to see off of a Pokestop, that's for sure. But there's going to be a Super Odd that will at least get me back that Bidoof. a Gholdengo, and maybe just a Psychic Energy. That seems good. And I do still have Boss's Order, so if I have 3 energy, I'm not sure how many I had, but if I do have 3 energy, I will still be able to knock out this Deoxys that's on the bench and take some energy out of play, but unfortunately, I won't be able to do that. Instead, I'm just going to have to go for the Worker, discarding my own Pokestop. And just going to go for an Ultra Ball here, going for a second Gholdengo EX. And I think I might have had Escape Rope in hand. If so, I might actually be able to get a KO. Yeah, so there's the Escape Rope. More than likely, Vince just promotes either Xatu or the Deoxys here. Looks like he is going to go for the Deoxys. I think that is a little bit risky since it does have a few energy on it, but it is the tankiest of all the Pokemon that Vince has. And I just need a single energy, and I will be able to get this KO. Oh, actually, no, I would need 2 energy. Yeah, that's a little bit tragic because I do need to attach an energy, and then I have 2 energy in hand, but that's not enough to knock out this Deoxys, unfortunately. But here I am going to use Pal Pad. That will allow me to get 2 supporters back into my deck here. And as you see, I did get that Manaphy down just in case of a Mew EX coming down. Though in hindsight, guys, I'm not so sure Vince is actually going to try to copy Radiant Greninja's attack. So I think I should have just held on to this Manaphy. But here I'm just debating, do I actually get an attachment down with this Gholdengo? I think I still do, just in case of an Iono. It's 1 less card I'm going to need to cobble together a knockout. But yeah, this was definitely not the turn I wanted. As you can see, just in general, my deck has been a little bit sluggish getting going. Like, I haven't been drawing dead, but just the cards I have been seeing haven't been completely optimal here. But there's going to be a Nest Ball getting a second Mewtwo EX for Vince. We're going to see Fog Crystal. And yeah, Vince is starting to be able to ramp up his damage a good bit now. He's going to be attaching 3 energy per turn minimum. Assuming he finds the necessary energy to do so, of course. So I probably do need to actually KO something next turn. Specifically a Pokemon with energy. Because otherwise, Vince might be able to ramp up his damage to a point where he's just knocking out anything that I have. Okay, there's going to be Bravery Charm, Path to the Peak coming down. Looks like a Mew EX as well. And then we are going to see Deoxys finally come into play. And this attack is actually really good for his deck because it does 120, but then you get to move all the energy to your bench Pokemon in any way that you like. Which is good here because now he gets to preserve his energy and also force me into a 7-prize game. So as a result, he's kind of forcing me to have a Boss's Orders plus all of the necessary energy to take a multi-prize KO under Path to the Peak lock with Nova Barrel in play. So here it looks like I'm just taking a peek, seeing, I guess, how much energy I have in my discard pile. Okay, looks like I'm eyeing down a superior energy retrieval. I'll need to do that probably no matter what here. And just trying to think, it looks like I'm thinking about Boss's Orders, but it looks like I'm trying to think, who do I actually want to take out here? I think taking out Xatu could be really good in the long term since it gets rid of an energy and a way to accelerate energy. But Vince is already up 2 prize cards. I might need to take out Mew EX just to be able to trade evenly with him because he's going to knock out my Gholdengo and go down to 2 prizes. And if I'm only knocking out Xatu taking a single prize, I might not actually be able to keep up in this game. So as much as I would like to, I think I have to just knock out the Mew, take 2 prizes, and hopefully between my prizes and my top deck, I can draw into something good and start stabilizing on this next turn. But there's going to be an Iono. I don't actually hate that just because I didn't have a draw supporter, so. And that does get me into a worker, so I will be able to bump that Path to the Peak and start drawing some cards here. But let's see. Vince luckily doesn't need too much for himself this turn. This Gholdengo is already previously damaged, so he can just sort of start setting up and start threatening a return one-shot on my next turn, or I should say on his next turn. Okay, there's going to be a Capturing Aroma. Oh, looks like he's second guessing it. Yeah, instead just going to go for the Ultra Ball. Grabbing, looks like a Xatu. So he's just trying to thin his deck as much as possible here. Okay, we'll see an attachment, it looks like for turn on the Xatu, and just knock out my Gholdengo. And Vince is just going to need a single knockout now on Gholdengo EX to win the game. But there's going to be Worker, getting rid of that Path to the Peak, allowing me to see a few extra cards. There's going to be Nest Ball. Definitely need to get myself down a Bidoof just in case I do knock out Mewtwo and then get Iono Pathed again. Want to make sure I can find myself a Burrell to draw out of that. So I'm going to use Gholdengo's ability to draw 2 cards here. Okay. Then I can use my bench Gholdengo to draw a single card. And I do have 2 superior energy retrievals in hand, so I should be able to get this KO if I'm not mistaken. So it looks like I'm a little bit conflicted what I want to do here. Or what I want to get rid of here. Okay, looks like I'm thinking about using Radiant Greninja first before Superior. That seems okay to me, too. Okay, so I'm going to toss the Metal Energy away. Okay, that actually makes things a little bit easier. Now I only need the 1 Superior Energy Retrieval plus the Energy Retrieval that's in my hand. So it looks like I'm thinking about getting rid of Worker here, which I actually don't mind. It's either that or Ultra Ball. I kind of want to save the Ultra Ball for Burrell, but at the same time, Worker also is a very important stadium bumping effect that's in my deck. So there's going to be the Superior Energy Retrieval and another Energy Retrieval. Oh, but I think I might be... Oh, no, I do have enough energy. I thought I only had 5 in hand for a second. But yeah, 6 energy. That is going to knock out this Mewtwo EX, even with the Bravery Charm. And now I think it's largely going to come down to who can nuke who first at this point. So there's going to be the Superior, or not Superior, but the Super Rod from Vince, getting 3 basic energies back in his deck. And let's see, right now with Mewtwo, he's hitting for 30, 60, 90, 120, 150, 180. So with 3 energy, that's 210. Yeah, if he accelerates 3 energy, right, that should be a KO on my Gholdengo, since Gholdengo only has 260 HP. And we do see a research in his hand as well. So, yeah, things are looking a little bit scary for me here. I think he was debating between the Iono and the research. Yeah, I do remember this. We were talking about which he should go for here, but I think this just wins him the game. So there's Xatu number 2. Attachment for turn, and now that should be enough to knock out this Gholdengo EX here. And I'm just double checking Vince. And Path just for good measure. But yeah, Vince is ultimately going to take game 3 as well as the series with the Mewtwo EX Xatu deck. So I think you guys could see just how oppressive Path can be against a deck like Gholdengo. And if this Mewtwo deck goes unchecked for just a few too many turns, it can sort of just snowball how many energy it has in play to eventually be able to just roll over anything that you might have. But as always, if you guys did enjoy today's content, remember to leave a like on the video. And if you're feeling maybe a little extra generous, you can always become a patron at patreon.com/rarecandytcg or pick up some merch at rarecandytcg.com. But as always, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.